What up, guys? So this is going to be a video of how to upgrade the rear suspension on a CRF250L for not much money at all. It's damn near free. But a lot of people complain that the CRF250L has like dog shit soft suspension, and they are totally correct. If you're trying to do any serious off-roading, it's just too soft and plush. You just can't do it. So kind of what goes into this is I basically took the rear shock out, and then I added, focus camera, I added all these gold washers that you see under this collar there to basically just up the preload. So I added maybe 1 centimeter of preload after my top collar. Oh, can I see it? Pretty much maxed out the preload in there. You get a little bit of adjustability from the factory, but not too much. So I had that maxed out, definitely wasn't happy with it. And then I had this idea that I was gonna add washers under the spring, but there was really nothing online about it. And I looked everywhere, forums and everything, and couldn't find anything. So I just did this on a whim by myself and kind of figured it out as I went, but it worked fucking perfectly. And this suspension is so tight now, it feels like a 450R on the rear. I mean, it is stiff. This thing is ready to take huge jumps now. You could totally send it. But so kind of what all goes into this, you'll need to take your rear shock out. So I would have the bike supported from the bottom just so that your rear tire is off the ground and everything, so this swing arm can go down, there's no weight on it or anything like that. You'll take this bolt out on the reservoir, it's a 10 mil, and then behind the reservoir you can see that bolt in there. So that holds the top of your monoshock on. It's a 14 on this side, and then the nut on the other side is a 17. So an open-end wrench works the best on the other side, and you'll need to take this plastic off to get to it. It's right beside the battery box. So then you'll loosen that up, take your nut off. I had left the bolt in for now just to hold the shock. And then on the bottom here you can get away with just taking this one and this one out. So these each have a nut on the other side, so take this one out. It's a 17 this side, 17 the other side. This one's a 14 this side and 17 on the other side. And once those are out, this whole link kind of just pivots down, and then you can pull out your bolt from the top and then just slide your rear shock straight out the bottom. So that won't take long at all. That's a 5-minute process. And then once your shock is out, you're gonna have to figure out how to compress the spring. If you have a spring compressor, awesome, but nobody has one of those around their garage or their shop. And so this is what I did instead to kind of simulate a spring press. So I took the spare tire off my pickup. I had a ratchet strap that you throw through the tire. We will pretend that this water bottle is our monoshock. So then you will hook this on one of the springs, one of the coils on the springs on that side. Take the other side, hook it to one of the coils there. Depending what kind of a wheel you have, your spokes and everything can kind of keep stuff straight. My ratchet straps only go so short, so what I needed to do was put like a board across the face of the tire on the back side, so that I had something for that strap to go around, and then I could ratchet off of that. So you will just slowly start ratcheting when this is hooked on the coil or whatever, and it will slowly compress that spring and bring it down. I would rate this whole process as 60% safe, which is pretty good. That's more than halfway, but you could definitely get seriously hurt and maybe die if you don't do this right. So just at your own risk, but 60% safe. So anyways, so after that's done, your spring is compressed or whatever under this collar. So when your spring is compressed and goes up, right under this collar here is a nut on the shaft that comes out of the piston or whatever, which I don't know if you can see it under there. Yeah, you can kind of see it up in there. There's that shaft and it has threads on it. So this collar kind of acts like a nut, and then there's a nut like a 17 millimeter under this as well, so it's double nutted. But so once your spring's compressed, then you can throw a wrench on that nut that's on here, hold that tight, and then you can put a screwdriver through here because you'll have this hole opened since the bolt will be out, and then you can use your screwdriver kind of as a wrench and then unthread this top collar from the rod. It will come out. Then you can release the pressure on your spring. There's not really a subtle way to do that with a ratchet strap. It just all kind of releases at the same time, but nothing shot anywhere or anything like that. It was actually pretty safe. So then once your collar is off, there is one focus camera. There is one washer. There's a silver washer up here that's already on the stock shock. And you can just take that to your hardware store and then go look for these big washers to kind of match it. And it's very important that the center of the washer, the hole in the middle, is the same size as the stock one, because then you've got that rod that comes through them all to thread into this, and then there's that nut on just above this here. So, and that nut will need to be inside of these washers, essentially. So the inside of the washer diameter needs to be as big as the stock one, but like I said, you can just take the stock one to the hardware store and just match things up. Those washers were $2.50 each, which is kind of a rip-off, but in hindsight, it's way better than buying a $750 Olin shock or the Hagen's 500, the Race Tech's up there. Like, you know, so rather than spend almost $1,000 on rear suspension, this works really good. So then after you have your washers, you'll kind of just compress your spring down again with the same ratchet strap method, and then throw your washers on there. It'll need to be a little bit more compressed, obviously, because you're putting washers on it now. But it doesn't take any brute strength. You get a good ratchet strap and you're just sitting there cinching it up. Like, you don't have to muscle anything anywhere. And then it helps, like I had my tire turned up on the side so that I could easily get to the ratchet strap, and then it was just holding my shock perpendicular or parallel to the ground. So then that worked pretty good. You just compress it again, throw your washers on, thread that top collar in, put a wrench around the bottom nut, snug everything up to each other, and then yeah, and then you're good to go. Throw your shock back in, repeat the process of what you did to take that out, and then so your rear suspension should be all set up. Then you'll be ready to rock. And then to balance out the front, I would get the Race Tech spring kit for these 250Ls. It's about $125, and I've got mine on the way. I haven't installed it yet, and then so these are separate function forks. This one's for your spring and your preload, and this one's for damping. But with that kit, it adds a spring and a rod, and then you get some washers for preload and everything that you can set in there and adjust it to how you like. So then that'll make the front, if you put all the washers in that it gives you to set the preload way up, I mean, this thing would have the suspension of a CRF250R. I mean, you could take some big jumps, boys. So I would highly recommend that, and I will let you know how the front goes on. But super happy with this. It's like the best suspension mod you could do that doesn't cost like anything for this CRF250L. So $7.50 and about 30 minutes of time, and anybody could do this. Any dummy could do this mod to their bike, and you'll be so happy with it, guys. I'll have to make a video of me doing some big jumps, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If need be, I could probably make a video of this whole process and stuff. I didn't when I first had done it because I didn't know if it was gonna work, and everything was so redneck rigged up as it is, I was like, I don't know about this, but it worked fucking perfect. So you shouldn't have any problems at all. Just kind of follow the steps I gave you, and if you got a spare tire, ratchet strap, and basic hand tools, I mean, yeah, anybody could do this. So let me know how it goes for you guys, or if you have any questions. And again, I rate this process as 60% safe. 60%, which, you know, 60%. But yeah, I guess until then, I'll talk to you guys later.